Good evening, everybody. Tonight, I'm going to take you around the Boreal 56, nominated for the 2026 European Yacht of the Year Award. As you can see, there have been some changes with Boreal. The DNA is the same, so don't worry, we're going to have a look around the outside, but you'll notice one of the things that they've done, they've accentuated the chines on the hull. Basically gives you a longer waterline, making the boat a lot more stable and faster. As I say, her standard DNA, so you have a single rudder, but either side, a Curiosity. I don't know if you knew this about Boreal. They actually have, they're not rudders, they're like mini aft keels that you can lift or drop. So if you're in a following sea, going downwind, you can drop them both starboard and port, and it actually stabilizes the boat, so you don't get any of that sort of riding as you're surfing down the wave. It's just dead straight, just as you need it. Transom, bathing ladder here, and then a step to come forward. Port and starboard, we'll look in one locker. Right, those two little, French they call them saffrons, so those two sort of almost like mini drop down keels or fins. You can see you've got the keel box here and the lines to lift them or drop them, both either side, so it's the same on the starboard side. Now, when people talk about stowage or storage, this boat has ample amounts. Underneath here you can see the storage of sail. What you'll see further forward is there will be a watertight bulkhead as standard. To give you some stats as we start to go around this boat, she's 56 foot long, which is around 17.12 meters, and a beam of 4.94 meters. So very, very beamy, really large boat. Helms, both port and starboard. Sarah's here, coming round with me. Aluminium integrated tender arch with space on top for solar panels. And you can see the old Starlink disc up there. Space for your tender. And as you can see, charging equipment. They've actually got two of these, one set up on the other side. Let's start on the port helm. We're actually going to go through some of the equipment while we're here. You have a main principal winch centrally here, central to the yacht, emergency rudder plate just underneath. Now, it's something that comes under discussion all the time about sail handling, being next to your wheels, not having to move too far. Boreal have thought about this over and over, and it's something that they always implement on their boats. As you can see, and this is repeated too on the starboard side, you have your bank of crutches here. Got your reefs, track, mainsail, halyard, and then over on the port side, van clew, reef one, and your centerboard. So this will lift or drop your centerboard. Nice thing with it here is everything can be done on this winch. It comes as electric as standard with foot controls, so you can maneuver your boat whilst using the winch, doing whatever you need to do. And then you have two Lumar Genoa winches, outboard. They're an option. And then these, which you could use for your main sheet if you're sat at the helm, both port and starboard either side. Big Lumar. These can come as electric as an option if you want, and the same with your Lumars on the exterior. I've got to take a breath because there's so much to look at, and this is a problem, what most people don't realise. I'm going to step up and back from the helm. Oh, lovely seat. Your Furuno, this will be all your nav gear. I'm not going to take the covers off because the weather's really poor and the guys are packing up this evening. And then you have your AIS set up on this side. One thing I wanted to show you while we're up here and we have the main sheet and so on coming back to these winches, your adjustable back stay is right behind me. So I'll give you a look for that. I'll go all the way up. And while we're here, your 2 spreader mast. All your sheets, halyards and so on, as they are with the central block here, you can see non-slip cover, and then they run underneath and they go all the way forward. And when we go forward, we'll have a look at that. Centrally, once again, something Boreal do very well is your life raft is set in a dedicated cabinet here for ease of launch, right in the middle and after the boat. Right, I'm going to do the outside quickly, and before we step up on the side, both starboard and port, you have the feet angles for when you're on the hill, you can regulate yourself. And the nice thing is now they've added those chimes. When she is on the hill, once she sits there on that spot, that's where she's going to rest. Great handholds on the pedestal, as you would expect. And then we'll come forward. Something Boreal are famous for is their doghouse. And this one has been integrated with full solar system. There's your German mainsail system. And then coming forward, you have, I'm going to get Sarah to show you this, coming forward, you've got handholds that are pretty much waist high. If I come back, Sarah can show you actually how high the handrail and your exterior rail are. So a lot more safe. You'll notice with this particular new Boreal, as they were explaining it to me, they've actually raised the height of the interior. Genoa tracks, all adjustable, so those lines for your Genoa tracks run all the way back to the cockpit. And then all the way to your hardware on your mast. So, like any blue water cruiser, you have all your manual backups if you need to, spinnaker halyards and so on. But everything you have backups on the mast for tensioning. Granny bars either side, which is necessary. And centrally, you have your windlass here. Unlike another manufacturer where the chain actually goes all the way to the mast with the chain box, you'll find here actually that the chain box is underneath the windlass itself, so it's all in one section. It's pretty good. You have feet control for it just by the mast, and if you want for an option, you can have the electrics and a chain counter back in the cockpit. I should imagine in the doghouse as well. You'll notice the larger windscreen. Non-slip deck. I know people have commented on this before about not being flush hatches, and on modern boats should be flush hatches. This is an expedition yacht. Flush hatches are great if you're going to be in the Med or the Bahamas. There are ways about it, but you'll notice with the forward hatches that they basically have a water break too. So spot on. Well done, Boreal, with that. And then forward, double barrel roller, integral, being an aluminium yacht. So Genoa, stay sail, and then a voluminous voluminous forward locker for all your spare bits and pieces, changes of sail, you know, if you're smuggling stuff, you shouldn't be. Plenty of room. A watertight crash at bulkhead, and an aluminium ladder goes all the way down. Awesome. Really, really good. Loads of room. I will give you that all-important look aft. Draft with your keel up is 1.2 meters, and fully down is 3.18 meters. And just for information, as she stands unloaded, she's around 22 tons, and fully loaded 27 tons thereabouts. So, you know, she's quite heavy. But then if you think about it, she has a capacity of 1,100 litres of diesel, which is quite a lot, and 1,500 litres of water. So, you know, you can go off grid for extensive periods of time. Port side, you have an L-shaped chair, and then same on. Now, this is the discussion we had last time we were reviewing a Boreal, and it was something they were changing because the back area of the seats was quite low, and they've dealt with that. And it's nice and high, so there's plenty of support on the back. Storage for all your bits and pieces, or as some would like to say, stowage. But anyone that's going away for a long time, storage is storage. Doesn't matter what you call it. There we go, it's my dig of the day. Right, on the cockpit table, compass. You know me, I love a good compass. And then centrally, a big storage area for your French baguette and camembert cheese. Handholds all the way forward, and then one step down, which will take us into the doghouse. You can get a canvas, so you want a canvas top, you can have it. And just, you know, mention it too that we also have handhold either side, and a watertight door. Something that Boreal is famous for, and I apologise if the sound was rubbish, but I didn't realise my microphone had dropped down. This is one of the USPs that Boreal have been famous for years, and that is the doghouse. What I'm going to do, I'm going to back out of here. I'm going to get Sarah to sit in the doghouse so you can actually see the height and the space available. Go on, if you actually go in.
Point out that I'm not sure.
Right, point out that Sarah isn't 5'8", 5'9" like me. She's a little bit shorter. She's 5'7", but you know, yeah, plenty of head height, everything you need. It's the command station. You know, it's for doing your watch. You have everything you need. So AIS on the inside. You have a nav lamp. If Sarah moves back a little bit, you'll see your VHF and other bits and pieces, sat phone. Computer setup, hold on before you lift it up. So you have a touch screen readouts here, so for your water, diesel, house batteries, engine batteries, all that sort of stuff. And then a large computer screen plotter here, so that's fabulous, really good size. To give you everything you need. And then stowage or storage for paperwork, bits and pieces will all need, mobile phones and so on. And then just behind the chair you have somewhere for you. I love this. So you have a draining cabinet to put all your wet gear, life jackets, harnesses and so on. Everything you need is in the doghouse.
Can you point down to the vent?
To the vent. You can see the outside vents, so it'll be hot air blower. You're not traipsing wet stuff into the boat. You know, it's the Boreal listen to their customers. They know what they're doing. Fully insulated. you have an opening hatch above your head, and then your large screen. Really good view all the way forward. Nice fiddles on the top. Just so you understand, you are discovering this boat at exactly the same time as we are. So your engine start, stop and engine controls are just under the seat of the doghouse. You have storage underneath here. This comes with a Yamaha 110 horsepower as standard. You can upgrade it if you want, and it's the same with the generators. You can upgrade on your generators. Same with the heating system, you can change that. One thing I quite like, I know I'm moving you guys around a lot, is it's only 3 steps down in. So it's not as if you're going into a dungeon. There is a cellar right here. So we're going to start aft on the starboard side. This one has been set up with a twin berth. You can see they've left the lee cloths up. I think it's a really good demonstration on how it can be set. There is a central passage all the way through with, as you can see underneath this bed, you have slide stowage underneath. Your heater vent or aircon vents down there, and you can have central heating and radiator sets if you wish. And once again, centrally there is another vent over there. Really comfortable. They are large single beds, so when you're on passage or you have guests, they have a nice little cabin to rest in. There is ventilation into the cockpit, and then outboard you have a nice sized port light window, and just in front of me you'll be able to see that there is shelf storage here. Well, and then just below, I'll bring the camera back a little bit, you have more storage here. Really nice. The woodwork, they were telling me that they've made changes, bits and pieces, and you can see it. The joinery is, I don't know, the joinery is just, they've made effort, and it shows. Port light there going outboard, and then coming out this fabulous little cabin. And as you can see just down here, we have a radiator. On the starboard side, it's the first bathroom is a wet head. You have an electric flush toilet, and well, everything you need. Everything you need. Sink, storage underneath, hot and cold water, and if we get this right, oh, there we go, and cupboard space. So you have 4 cupboards here. It's all white, clean surface. And you start to have a look at the thickness of insulation. Okay, there's a little bit of space behind there for electrics and so on. You've got full thick double glazed windows. Bar up the top, well, the same bar at the top pointing you up there. Opening hatch up above, and the reason why the camera's at such a tilt, if I turn it this way, it'll give you an idea of, so give you an idea of the height. Just in here, once the door's shut, let me shut the door behind you, and you'll be able to see the shower. So there's plenty of space, and you can, if you wish, I'll turn you around. Like I say, the rooms are large, but even with a wide angle camera, it's hard to get everything in. So you can actually put a fold screen across here if you want to. I'm going to open that, come out of here, straight out of here, you'll see you have your raised saloon. Something Boreal are famous for. So there's 2 steps up. Nicely lit, LED lighting, and it has a drop-down table. So you can put this whole area into a daybed if you want. Now if I come up and give you a view from up here in the saloon, you can then understand. There's your view out the window. Down to a drop down inline galley. We're going to go forward first. Now, I'm not going to lift up any panels because I need a vacuum thingy. Once again, you have a radiator here. All these panels will come up and they give you access to services and tanks. And then forward in the galley is something I really like about this. We are going to have another look. They have said we can go up and have another look. Something that's not always assured because you don't know what's going on people's agendas. But I love this. You have a full storage area, and I'm pretty sure if I talk to the guys, there's options to change this, to have it as a day bed if you want, or, you know, an ensuite or an extra, you know, whatever. But at the moment, it's all storage. I'll show you something I love in a minute going forward. I'm all over the place. So you have fridge, freezer, fridge, however you want to do it. Once again, I will go on about this. And as you can see, it's set up centrally to the boat with these drawer systems. So it doesn't matter, whatever tack you're on, you're not going to have any issues opening and closing the fridges. You know, when they set them outboard, it's just an absolute nightmare. Grab handles by the sink. This is all stainless steel, which I think is brilliant. I don't know why more boats don't do it. You have hot and cold water. There is fresh water, salt water pump as well, and the water for the, you know, bleed off. A 3-burner gimbaled hob. If you want, you could have this as an induction kit if you wish. And this Ryber, these are the sink setups that I really like, where you can have the shelves in there and the bakeys and the bits and pieces. Excellent bits of kit. Plenty of storage underneath. Love it. I'm loving this boat. You have I love this. So you have extra prep, something that you'll always find when you're working in a galley on a boat. So you've got loads of prep surface over here. You've got, normally the stove is put somewhere, and then you just have a crappy little bit of work surface. They've extended the work section out here, so you have more workspace, and then you have your bins just here. So you could do all your chopping and that, and straight into the bin. Nicely thought out. I love the view from the galley. It's really good. Really, really good. And one of my favourites, as you know, slidey. So you have slidey cupboards all the way through. And I'm going to, excuse me for twisting you again. Once again, I'm going to show you the head height I have in here. Like 5'9". I can just touch the top. So, galley, starboard side. Then you have the view of the saloon over here. So if you're cooking, you have on the backrest here. Once again, you have handholds, so if you're going forward. There's always something to grab hold of onto this boat. Then behind the chair, there are 3 drawers. And then a whole load of cupboard storage. I have 3 cupboards here. And then coming down, you've got 2 steps down. Now I would love, you got all this extra storage, so you could, if you wished, which these guys have done, I was just about to say, you could have a washing machine, a washer dryer put in. These guys have obviously thought of that, pop one in. And then you have spares and so on. So you could have this as a workshop area if you wanted, which would be very, very serviceable. And then all the way along, small, I actually don't know whether that's, I think that's a small diesel tank for the heater behind me. I will find out and clarify And then you have another 3 large cupboards for storage. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a small diesel tank for one of my favourite bits of boat kit ever, these heaters. And they're the absolute business. And if you were going off exploring, even if you were spending time in the Med, because even in the winter the Mediterranean can get cold at night, or during the day too. Got a really nice heater. While we're here, we'll go over the panels a little bit. So you have your main switch panel. I hope you can all see that, so it's all relatively evident. I'm not going to open, well actually I will open it, stuff it. But I'd like you to see the wires. That everything is labelled, connected, French electric system like so. So in your manual, if there's a problem, you can identify the number with the manual. You can email or text to, you know, if there are any issues, like I say, to sort out your issues. And then we're going to come forward into the owner's suite. 3 large drawers. They've done even for there's more. This will be your anchor chain locker. Access to the mast is behind me. So it's good that you have access down here, like I say, into the owner's. A large double semi-island berth. There are 2 hatches, opening hatches up above with mosquito netting and privacy blinds. 2 very large porthole windows, and then either side you have 5 overhead opening lockers. J'arrive. Bonjour. And then just behind the door, which is really nice, there is a vanity or small office, which I think is rather quite nice. And there is a drawer underneath. It goes all the way out to the hull. Very, very nice. Storage, there is storage underneath the bed. You have storage here, and then a hanging locker, or how you set it up, so they have it hanging up there. These owners have put shelves in which you can remove. And then, pièce de résistance, owners have the owner's suite. So, large wash basin with corian worktop, sliding storage and mirrored cupboard storage, opening ventilation hatch up above. So much room in here. Freshwater electric flush toilet. You have radiant heating, so it's like instant heating. I will show you into one of these. Plenty of storage there. Plenty of storage all the way back in these cabinets. And then a separate shower. Very, very nice. And you would access your grey water and services behind there. I've got one more cabin to look at in the salon, so we're going to have a look at that. If you have any questions, please put them in the comments below. We're going to have a look at this other cabin. We'll try not to interrupt these people too much. J'ai juste fait derrière, pardon. Désolé. Right. Port aft cabin. You have a double berth. So this would be, say, like your VIP cabin. And there's plenty of room in here. Lee cloth in the middle. So if people say, oh, it's, you know, big wide cabin, what about stormy waters? Great lee cloth system. You can see that there is storage over on that side. ventilation and an opening hatch into the cockpit. Heating all the way back there, reading lights, and a really nice port light here. And one thing I like about this cabin too, which we didn't have a look in the other one, is you have your access into your engine compartment, which is copiously large. So, got your generator. There's your Yamaha 110 horsepower engine. She is shaft driven, so no change there. You can see your filters and water maker and so on. The water maker is an option, but you know, if you were going off, it's not really a, you know, not really a big thing, is it? You just add it. One thing I'd like to show you there is your sea cocks. If you see how high up they are, they're well above the waterline. They're plastic, so you're not having to worry about corrosion. It's just, everything's just well set. You know, these guys have been doing it for a long time. Here you have your main switchboard and electrics, and then further down you'll see diagrams basically for your manifold for the water. Your manifold is just here, so you can independently shut off hot or cold water systems. Absolutely excellent. I won't go into it too much. They're showing people around now, and on this side you have, coming out of this cabin, you have freezer. So headroom in your VIP guest cabin, and you'll see just here there's another hatch going outside. Just want to say hi to the 20%. The analytics say actually make it all the way through to the end of our videos. You guys are absolute champions and our biggest fans. If you're new here and you've watched the video all the way through, thank you very much. Like everybody else, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. We haven't been on YouTube much this year, have we?
We've been busy, as you can see.
You know, finishing off or nearly finishing off this side of the house. There's a load of this content will be getting uploaded almost on a daily basis to our Patreon, which we are now slowly kicking off. So I'll leave a link to that at the bottom of the video. And the other thing is our series that we started. We got to part 2. We've got part 3, 4 and 5 coming, and then after that we're going to deep dive into everything. So if you haven't seen any of that, I'll leave a link to part 1 in one of the corners. Thank you very much to Boreal for the 56, and we look forward to coming up to the factory next time we're up in the north of France.
Stay tuned for what's coming in 2026. There's going to be lots going on.